Hey everybody, Daryl and Hollow, Exquisite Exotics here. Today's video is going to be a weird one. So let's start with the giant, huge disclaimer to start with. We're not vets. I'm not telling you to do this, but sometimes crazy ideas work, because that's what I'm titling this video. Sometimes crazy ideas work. What else do you want to add at the beginning, Holly, to disclaimer?
That was the most perfect disclaimer ever.
Yeah.
No, seriously, guys. This is something that I would say but really Daryl kind of thought about on his own. We wanted to put into play. We'll tell you why. That's it.
With zero feedback from anybody about whether or not it's going to work or not.
Didn't even consult anybody. Just did it.
Yeah.
It worked for us, but we wanted to share because you got to sometimes think outside the box.
Crazy ideas work.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, we'll try to take a long story and shrink it down. We had a snake in our collection who regurged on us.
A lot.
Well, no, let me start. Wait. Jumping ahead. No big deal. Single regurg, right?
Short.
Like, it happens very rarely. Simple thing. You switch down to a smaller prey item, get them back on food slowly. Not a big deal, right? Happens very rarely, but it happens.
Yeah.
I'm thinking with all of our animals we have,
maybe once or twice.
Yeah,
it's very rare.
In like 3 or 4 years, like it's very rare. Maybe 3 animals in 4 years we've had this happen with, and this happens to be one of them. Okay, no biggie. The problem, she kept doing it. So we put her, like after I think the second or maybe third time, we put her into quarantine. That way we know she's away from the rest of the collection. Also, because it's happening and we have a big collection, straight to the vet with her, right? The vet does a whole bunch of tests. We take fecal samples, blood samples, all kinds of tests. They don't find anything. She continues to regurg. We try to feed her increasingly smaller and smaller meals. She's losing weight. Back to the vet we go. Round of test number 2. Nothing. Okay?
Also, let me add in there during this time, she was still producing a stool, but it was like very diuretic and bad.
It was diarrhea.
It wasn't much, too, because she wasn't keeping anything down.
So, next step, we want to do some more. The vet wants to do more fecal samples. The problem is, as Holly mentioned, we're getting diarrhea. So we have to wait for a stool that's like solid enough to get and take for a stool sample. So that takes months because of all this stuff going on. She's continuing to lose weight. We're concerned, but she's in quarantine, away from the rest of the collection. She's come back negative for anything that's super concerning on multiple tests. So we're like, okay, at least it's not contagious. No other animals are showing anything. Not all the big, major, because our vet knows that we are a breeder, they did kind of all the major collection killing stuff out of the way first, thank goodness. So it's nothing major, but they just can't figure it out. There's no parasites, no infections, nothing they can find. So we do finally get her back on food, and she stops regurging. But she's lost a lot of weight at this point, and she still has diarrhea every single time. Every time. No solid poos, ever. Ever. And she's like that for...
And I think even some of her stool was a lot of hair.
Yeah,
so you could tell she wasn't digesting properly.
Non-fully digested. So what was that, maybe...
A couple months.
6 months, probably? Of
I don't think it was quite that long, but I mean, 4? At this point, we've had her a very long time, so this has just been going on almost immediately. It was almost like...
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. So we try to start thinking, well, she's at least taking food and not regurging out. One issue down. What's the next issue? The next issue is diarrhea. And just nothing but that. So, no real answers from our vet on what to do about that. I did some research myself, and I thought, well, if humans are having digestive issues, we'll look into some kind of probiotics. I didn't find anything that was great or useful information. But I did think of something that I've heard of, and this is going to sound really weird, but it is a real thing. If you don't believe me, go look it up. It's called fecal transplants. So in humans, occasionally you can have issues where all your gut fauna die, or you lose all your gut fauna. In some way, shape, or form, something happens. And what they do is they actually take feces from a healthy person, and basically you get it inside of you. And we'll keep it simple. To rebuild the correct fauna that you have in your gut. And I thought, man, I wonder if with all of the regurging, all of the diarrhea, she has just lost all the good bacteria in her digestive system, and that's her problem. So we did
kind of that.
So, a little poo from a healthy animal into her cage, occasionally on like a food prey item, feeding her inside there. Not that we kept it filthy, but
No, but enough that if she's gonna
move around,
she'll
be
rub
in there.
over it at some point.
She's in there with the bacteria. We do keep our animals on paper, so our animals are in a fairly clean and sterile environment compared to nature, right? They're not interacting with a whole bunch of different bacteria and stuff. And we did that for a couple weeks tops, and all of a sudden her stools weren't diarrhea. They were soft, but
and there weren't very many.
and there weren't very many, but they were starting to look like regular poo again. And then they got better and better and better. And now she has been normal for...
She's gained weight?
She weight's back up?
Weight's
Yep,
back
she's
up.
actually heavier than she was when she first got sick. And that was like...
A couple years ago.
Yeah, a long time. A year and a half maybe ago. So she's put weight back on. Her stools look normal.
She is food ready.
Yeah.
She actually is very alert and strong.
Yeah, she got weak there for a while when she was really sick, and we were quite concerned about her. And she's pulled through. And the only thing we can attribute the stop of the diarrhea to was basically
The fecal transplant.
fake fecal
The
transplant.
snake fecal transplant. Let me just kind of interject real quick because I know we put the disclaimer out there. The reason we went this way is we kind of sat there and thought, at this point, we won't give up or call an animal or anything. Like, at this point, like, she is going to just be our pet until she dies. We kind of thought, this is getting bad. Nobody can help us. We're just going to keep her until she passes as a pet in quarantine, weirdly. So we kind of figured any extreme really couldn't do any worse because in a weird way, she was almost starving and probably a little bit in pain.
I don't know if she was in pain.
I don't know.
That might be
If
a
you're
bit
not,
stretch.
I don't know if you're not eating.
But she was eating at that point. She
At
was
this
just
point, yes, but I'm saying like when you're losing a lot of
just not
weight and you're
digesting.
lethargic and stuff. I don't know. Clearly, she didn't tell me, but it was one of those. So we just kind of thought, well, this can't be. It's not that extreme, but it was one of those like if this kind of is the end,
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel terrible about it because we at least tried something to help her.
Yeah. And we did, like, first thing first. Go to your vet, right?
100%.
And that's what we did. That was step number 1. And then step number 2 and
Was the
like
vet and the-
3,
and the
4,
vet.
5 was like all the vet.
Yeah.
There were multiple vet trips and multiple taking samples in to get
Oh
tested.
yeah, that was the other thing. Is
Like-
taking a sample in. I took that in more than we took her in.
Yeah.
Let me also add to that, just because if you do have an animal that's sick, vet is number 1. But realize that reptiles can get stressed very easily. So doing multiple trips does not help the situation per se. So yes, please do it and take them and do whatever you need to do as a very good pet or animal owner. But just be mindful that they could still be stressed for a while because of the transportation, the situation, like taking them out of their environment. So
Getting
we
probed
knew
and-
that was going to
probed and prodded and poked and needles
in their teeth.
and-
So we knew that she was going to be even more stressed because of this. So that didn't.
It is a
help
balance
it, but-
between getting the help you need and also reducing their stress as much as possible. I am a firm believer of reptile stress is a killer. It is.
We've had to tell our new vet that. We have just different location, different area. We have a new vet that's really good, but they are also an hour away from us. And I've had to explain that to them when they're like, oh, can you just bring her on in? And it's like, maybe, but like what I'm calling you about is, maybe a little bit of an ointment cream or something. So, it's just, we don't want to stress them for something that doesn't necessarily need to be a vet.
And we do when when the vet's like, no, we absolutely have to see them before we give
And
you
I'm
a
like, sure,
prescription.
let's do it.
then
We'll do it.
We bring them in, but we do the vet knows this new vet knows we're a breeder, so occasionally
She's much
they're
more lenient.
Yeah,
about
they're
it.
more
She's
like,
yeah, I'll
okay,
just call it in for you.
yeah, like
So
yeah, that's what exactly this is.
that's what I was trying to
Just,
explain. Sorry, I've worded things just too much.
Yes.
Trying
Sometimes
to
the
explain
wording
like,
is
oh,
not-
hey, I need an ointment for too much chin rub, and
Yeah.
it's starting to look a little bit whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you sure you can't bring them in? And it's like, no, I just need the same ointment that you've given me before.
for the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm
Anyway,
like, oh yeah, never mind.
Anyway, you're making this
I
a
know.
long story short long
I know.
again.
That's what I do.
Anyway, so I'm not saying this is a solution to your problem. I'm not even saying recommending necessarily doing it. I am saying that occasionally, if you have an animal where you've tried to go down every avenue you possibly can, and you have an idea that could save their life, that maybe hasn't been approved necessarily, don't just be terrified to try something. Now, I'm not saying cut your animal open because you think, oh, like there's an egg stuck and I don't want to go to a vet, so I'm going to, do home surgery. If you're experienced or whatever, and you're like, if you're somebody like, Nerd or BHB or somebody who's, kept reptiles for their entire life and knows more than some of the vets around them probably, maybe that's fine. But if you're just a newer breeder, or maybe somebody who doesn't feel comfortable with that, I'm not saying just do this level of extreme veterinary care at your house without seeing a vet. But when your vet runs out of ideas and you have something that really can't detriment the animal that you want to try, don't be afraid, because you know what? Surprisingly, you might find that it works, especially if you have a good hypothesis behind it and you have sound reasoning as to why you think it will work. Right? And that's what this was. Sound reasoning as to why we thought this might work, and it did. And she's been fine for months and months and months.
Yeah, that's why we also waited to do the video.
Yes.
It's been a long time since she's been... we still keep her in quarantine just because at this point we don't even know if we're going to keep her as a pet or not, or put her back in the collection. That's a whole other subject that I haven't approached. But every time I clean her cage, she has normal urate stool, thick body, strong muscle. She's not lethargic hanging over. She's actually up, very food ready. She's totally back to normal as from when we first got her, and even I would say even healthier now that she's grown.
Yeah.
So
she's technically up to breeding size now. It's crazy. She's so much better. She's a healthy snake again, and she was a dying snake there for a while. We were quite concerned, but anyway. It's probably a longer video than we wanted it to be, and we've rambled as always, but sometimes crazy things work, and we thought we'd share this. The likelihood that you have an animal with the exact same problem that we had is low, but you never know. You never know. Sometimes sharing information, right? Because our idea might lead somebody else to an idea for their animal that helps them with something completely different, and that's, we try to share any knowledge we can when we have some, and we always try to make sure in this case, we didn't tell you as soon as we were trying it. We told you after we ran out of ideas with the vet. We started coming up with our own ideas. We tested those ideas showed to work, right? And it's not like we can test this on multiple animals. This is the only one that we've ever had like this. So, if we ever have it in the future, will we try it again? Probably. But this is a one single case, and it could be circumstantial. It could be that she just happened to be on the mend, and when we started doing that stuff, maybe that's the time that she started getting better. But man, it was a long time of her not getting better, and it's awful crazy that we do that and then things start looking better right afterwards and slowly start improving. So sharing the information, sharing the knowledge, hopefully it helps somebody else. And maybe somebody else has this experience and done something similar and they were like, wow, I thought I was crazy, but here's another person that it worked for. And that's, that's the great thing. You share the knowledge, you might find somebody else that tried something else and they're something similar and they were just afraid to be like, hey, I tried this and it worked, but I don't want to tell anybody because I'm afraid that I'll get judged or anything else. But we did.
I look at it this way. Like we said, we thought we had a dying snake on our hands.
Yep.
So
and we had.
You could judge me on what we did then.
Yep. And we took them to the vet multiple times and ran a ridiculous amount of tests. And
the amount of poop to take
the amount of stool samples we gave was
stool samples. I think they gave me a bag at one point of like, here, this way when we do 4 tests in a row and they all come back negative, we can totally say this isn't it. Because it might show up later, some kind of shedding thing with the bacteria. Yeah. Anyway, it was wild. I learned a lot.
There was a lot of testing
from this.
But when you listen, when your vet literally is like, I'm not sure. Not everybody around. Like we are going to a different vet now than we were at the time. And I will say, I think our new vet is more knowledgeable with reptiles than our vet at the time was. But that works with reptiles. So when they're out of ideas, it's like, they have far more experience than what we do. So anyway, it worked.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was an exotic vet, so it wasn't like we sometimes treat other things than cats. It was. It was an exotic vet, so I trusted that when they ran out of ideas, they ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
So, I guess what I'll leave you with, just because I'm a big animal. Daryl's of course an animal lover too, but a big animal lover is just don't give up right away. And if you get an animal that you think might not make it, you still keep them don't give up on them. I don't know. I get a little personal, emotional about it just because I'm very big into the idea of, animals aren't just like a 1 month pet at Christmas kind of thing, and caring about them a lot. And
if you look at it, I think what Holly's trying to say, and I'm more blunt about things. If you look at it as a financial situation, it would have been much smarter for us if you only looked financially just to put her down. But that's not the kind of people we are. We will do what we need to try to save an animal if we can, even if that's not the best financial decision for the business. And in this case, it worked out. So
yeah, I'm just trying to say give them a fighting chance because, personal opinion, they deserve it too. So, just my thing.
I'm a more blunt person about it, but I think that's the point you're trying to get.
I don't like to push my opinions and morals on that work for me on other people, but.
So, in any case, she's doing much better now. She's healthy. I would consider her a healthy snake.
Absolutely,
we do still
100%.
have her in quarantine just to be safe, and we're discussing.
It's just been so many years that we just aren't comfortable putting her in here yet. Even though she acts totally fine and actually is much more food ready than some of the others.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion we need to have at some point. That maybe she moves back into the collection again because she is fine. She is fine now.
It'll be graduation day.
Anyway, all right, Holly, do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
All right. My only thing then, my final thoughts are, if you've exhausted all your other resources and you have an idea that seems sound and there's very little negative that can come from it, don't be afraid to try something because it might be that works. And the reason that we make advances and stuff is because people try stuff that wasn't tried before. It's the reason advances in husbandry are found in a lot of things. Not just reptiles, but saltwater aquariums. Saltwater aquariums, which is another life of mine. You'd be amazed at how many advances in the saltwater aquarium hobby were found by hobbyists, not scientists. So, you never know. You never know what you're going to find that might be helpful to other people down the road. So, all right.
I'm good.
That's all I got. All right, guys. I know that was a deep one, but if you liked it, all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you all next week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.